So it is 1:35. We're bringing the meeting of the Sunset Empire Transportation District Board Policy Committee to order at 1:35. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Really appropriate for today. Okay, so roll call, please. Jason, would you do that for us?
Commissioner Montero.
Present.
Commissioner York.
Here.
And Commissioner Slover.
Here.
Okay. And do we have any changes to the agenda?
Well, I proposed a change to the agenda, but it didn't make it to the packet.
Well, it doesn't have to make it to
Okay.
the packet. So
Okay.
tell us what this, did you send something to anybody, or is this?
Yeah, I sent it to you and Penny.
Yeah. Did you send it in the UHD email? Okay. Can you give us a title? Just do a little quick overview.
Well, I don't have a copy. Basically, just what I wanted to add was I kind of wrote up a little rough draft of a policy that would authorize the executive director to pursue grants without prior board approval, as long as he notified us and he'd read the email. I formatted it out, but it would give him opportunities if there was something that was with limited time that he could go ahead and do that.
And it might have been there, I didn't see an attachment, or I just saw an email paragraph or so, saying the gist of what you wanted to do, but not a formatted.
Let's add that as item 8B, discussion of policy authorizing grant.
Okay, because
grant
the
application.
page I sent should have had a header with our current board policy, okay. and then.
Well, we're not going to discuss it until new business. Okay. So that's a change to the agenda. Adding an item 8B, discussion of policy authorizing grant application. That's what I'm titling 8B. Okay. And do we have any public comment? No one online? Member of the public here? No public comment. Okay. The next item is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting, which took place on April 9th. Everybody has reviewed the minutes. And does anybody have any comments, questions, or a motion to approve?
I have a comment.
Sure.
As I reviewed them, here I'm confessing about my memory, there were at least a couple of them that were action items to go to the board, and I don't think that the board took action.
Yes, so. And I will tell you, there were a couple places where let's see.
There's there's action on some of that.
Right, and in the body of the minutes. So I don't know if we took action on any of them.
I think we did take action. So let's approve the minutes, and then let's go back and talk about what may or may not have occurred.
Okay. There's not an error. I'm not suggesting
no, it's not an error. You're right. You're right. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Okay. Second. Motion in a second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the minutes have been approved. Now, there, as Commissioner York indicated, there are in some sections, we made recommendations for action. So, in 7A, the second paragraph, Commissioner Stolberg moved to submit the committee's revision of policy B312 to the commissioners for approval. That did happen, and it was approved. Okay, so that was completed. Then we have the draft policies 804A and 804B. We combined them into one policy, made some additions, and moved to forward the revised policy to the board. It did appear on the board's agenda, but was removed from the agenda. And so what I'm going to say at this point, well, we'll talk about it when we get to talking about that item. So that action was done, but then at the board level, it was tabled.
Got it.
Although they did not use the word table, it was just removed from the agenda. Then the forensic audit policy recommendation, the third paragraph. Stolberg moved to recommend to the board that ODOT be asked for an update to assess the district status regarding outstanding items from the audit. That was not done, but if I'm remembering at the board meeting, there was some discussion about audits.
It seems to me, but I'm shaky on all of this.
Yes,
I
me too.
apologize.
It's been a while.
That the executive director asked if he could postpone that a little bit.
Right.
That's the discussion.
So let's, at this point, let's make a note that, well, we'll make that one, because audit policy is actually on our agenda today, so we'll talk about that then. Okay, then the ticket bank, that's item D. I don't remember the very last sentence. It says that I would recommend to the board that the committee work on drafting a policy, and I don't remember doing that at the board meeting. Does anybody remember me doing that?
We discussed the ticket bank at the last board meeting,
We did,
but I don't think that it went anywhere.
right?
Yeah. I also remember it being mentioned, but not that there was any action taken, including saying,
Okay.
do it or not do it.
So, in my report at the next board meeting, I'm going there so I can make sure and put it on the list. Next board meeting is when? The 25th, isn't it? Yes. I will add it to recommend policy on ticket bank. Okay. Saying that. All right, and then I think that was.
I think that's it.
Yeah, and the very last paragraph of item 8, I summarized that I'd be presenting the recommendations, revisions to 312, B804, ticket bank discussion, and move to have in-person report from ODOT, and that's the, so, okay, good deal. All right, so, next item on the agenda, hold on a minute, is, let's go back to policies 804A and 804B. I think what didn't happen was the putting them together as 804. And that's what we still want to do, is just make it 8:04.
Yeah, in the minutes, it says that we combined them, so.
We did.
Someplace there are notes that we did
Yes.
go over that in detail.
Right. And I believe that we can take the combined policy to the next board meeting.
And I think we approved that at the last meeting of this.
Yes, we did. And go ahead.
That would just be 804, no
Yes.
letter, okay.
Right. And so somewhere, Erica has a file that Sarah would have left putting the two of these together. So we need for Erica to find that document and send it to me. Okay? Because I think, basically, it's just combining. It's really interesting because it is combined here. Look at the policy at the bottom. On 804A, it's 1 and 2, and 804B, it's 3 and 4. I think the 3 and 4 on 804B just need to be moved on to 804A, and it needs to just become 804. That's what happened.
Yeah, because we agreed that the
Okay.
purpose of both was the same, and
Right.
it's just repeated here.
Right. So this needs to be pulled together.
That's easy.
So Erica just needs to move that over onto that and send it to me for final review. Okay. Okay. Now, the next thing is the table of contents comparison. And the intent had originally been, well, and there's a comparison that Sarah did where she went down the list and told us which policy was in SETD legacy, SDAO model, and an AI model. And I think we just need to take the time to walk through this list and say, here's the list that we want to make sure we have. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah,
I would say that there are kind of two things
Okay.
to do. One is that item by item, do we need this, want this, or no? And to chunk it, what are the categories in here? Because it's really hard to follow here.
They need to be put in, the likes go together.
Right, in subcategories.
In
so we know,
subcategories.
yeah.
And then we also need to prioritize. We're gonna do that at the end of this meeting. Let's do the other discussion items and put this at the end, okay? Because I think we're gonna maybe add a couple things. So, we're on item 8, new business. Policy oversight of transferring funds. This is a new policy that as I transferred, as I moved funds from our LGIP account to our MAPS general fund account, it became very obvious to me that there is no policy or procedure in place at the operational level. And while we do not dictate operational level policies, I believe that we as the board need to, and if we had a finance committee, this would be finance committee oversight, but we as a board need to have a policy that I'm going to use the word demands that such an operational policy exist. and be reviewed annually. I have not written that policy. I wanted to talk about it with you all first, and if it's something we want to do, I think it also needs to be a high priority. But I would add it to the list of policies that we want to work on. And I even have the operational policy written because I had to do the operations. And in doing that, I went to LGIP and got all the instructions, and I wrote them down. I had the people from LGIP look at them to make sure I was correct. They said everything I did was correct. And so this can be actually transferred into an operational policy very easily.
So I'd suggest an approach, especially since you got that done, that's really helpful. That, first of all, rather than demand, I would say direct.
Direct, I know. I couldn't think of the word.
So that came to me.
Yes.
And I think we should start with the purpose, which is appropriate for us to have a purpose for that. And then you could say, as part of a motion, to direct staff to create the operational procedure using this information that you've gathered.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think it's completely appropriate. The training that I took the other day, it was the ODOT training for how to be a better transit board member. One of the things that was really highlighted, and I really need to talk to probably Kathy and some other people about it, but one of the things that was really highlighted is we're ultimately responsible for everything that happens here. So even though we don't micromanage operations, we are responsible for ensuring that those operations do the things that they're supposed to do. And so it would be good oversight for us to have that policy in place, especially with all the things that are been happening lately about what you're talking about, the transferring of funds and stuff. So I'm all for that.
Okay.
And one of the ways that we exercise oversight is to have policies that not necessarily at a really detailed level, but say what needs to be done and why, what the purpose is, and that there is some method of review. So that's part of our financial policy, our financial reports, that in our financial policies we ought to be saying to be included in a monthly financial report or a quarterly report, something like that. So we're both establishing the purpose and the basic structure, knowing, for one thing, the procedure can change when you add an employee or something, and it's cumbersome to have to go back and revise policies every time there's a minor change in what computer to use. But the ending piece needs to be there too, how that's monitored.
Exactly, because that makes the full circle where the board is directing, and then when it's reported back, that is the board assuring.
Yeah, I think that's completely appropriate.
Yeah, so let's make sure that in every one of our policies, with the purposes and the directing, we have how does this come back to us? How often do we review it, et cetera, so that we make sure that the board is fulfilling all of its responsibilities. Okay, so the board meeting is on Thursday, and I don't think I've got this. I know I sent the process. I sent the process to David, and we're not going to be asking the board for permission to write that policy. We're going to be telling the board that we are writing that policy. Okay. Okay. So, and at that point, that gives the board the opportunity to discuss the reasons, the purpose, the, you know, etc. Okay. So then 8B. Talk to us about what you are proposing.
Okay, I apologize, the attachment was in the email, and the part that I wrote is in my computer, which I told her repeatedly we didn't need to bring today. The idea is this, that this happened recently, that there were times that David found a grant that he needed to apply for, and it was a timely thing. And what I'm saying is we could write a policy granting him permission to start the application process and or give a letter of intent to apply for a grant. Given that he immediately emails the board, once he takes that action and lets us know that that's an action he's taking, and then, sirens go by, and then at the next board meeting gives us just a quick summary of, and I listed 5 things that he would talk about. What the benefit of the grant would be to the district, what the application process would be like, what the timeline is, and if there's any financial matching funds or any financial impact to the district other than getting the money. So if there's an obligation, and just give us that brief summary of information so that we can tell him. We might not need to tell him, go ahead with it, because it might be something perfectly fine. Or if we needed to address it and vote on it, we could. And by giving us that information right away, then that gives the board chair the opportunity that if it's something that we need to call a special meeting for and vote on right away, she can call a special meeting. It's just more transparency. It's just letting him reach out and start these processes if he finds something that's time limited, instead of having to wait.
Define time limited for me.
Well, the recent example was...
Define it in today's language, not in recent examples. Okay, so...
That's hard for me because I don't believe...
Our next board meeting is Thursday.
Yeah.
How would time limited be in respect to our next board meeting being on Thursday?
Like if he found out about a grant today?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, the timeliness of it would be his action in applying for a grant. So if he found out today that there's a grant that we could qualify for to get 1 new vehicle, right?
And how...
But the grant closes on Wednesday.
In all honesty, if you found out about a grant today and it closed on Wednesday, there would be no way you could write that grant.
Right. Well, this came out of a community member asking me, how to go about this because of the RHVT grant and what happened with the RHVT grant. And
is that the veterans grant?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we weren't qualified for that grant to begin with.
Well, I know. And all I'm saying is, why don't we discuss whether or not we can grant David that latitude as long as we know right away? Because one of the things that came up with that was we didn't know about it until the next board meeting. So 3 weeks passed that we didn't know this was happening. And we need to know when things happen right away. Because if somebody comes up to us and asks us about it, we need to be informed. So it's just about informing people. And it just gives him permission to start the process, not to pursue the grant fully.
You have to define what start the process means. There's a lot of definitions.
Well, I did. I said grant application and letter of intent. Those 2 things are the first processes.
No, grant application is not a first process.
Okay.
Grant application is a whole thing. And not all grants have letters of intent.
So there is under the list of AI model policies one called grants management. That seems reasonable to me that we, at some point, I don't know if it's a high priority or not, but we might look at going through a regular process, look at what other policies look like, get an idea of what things have to be defined, under what circumstances might something be expedited. It's on page 13 by the numbers in the packet. So, all it says is grants management, so there isn't much to see there. But that does seem to be an issue, an ongoing issue for us. And I don't think it's one that is written quickly. I think it's complicated. But that seems like an approach for us to take on issues. A policy that defines why and the overall approach to something, and some way to monitor or hold it accountable, the actions accountable.
Yeah, if we already have something, and that's why I brought it up, so we can discuss it. It's just an idea at this point, and that's all I'm asking for is discussion.
Right.
To see if this might be helpful.
Well, and we can discuss it, but I also don't want us to put a lot of energy into a policy that then we take back to the board, and the board says, no, we don't want that policy. Or
right.
we don't want to direct that. So that's where I think being able to say, okay, we're gonna, in the next month or 2 months, we're gonna look at these 5 policies. And say that at the board meeting and say, these are the things we're looking at. Is there anything that you don't want or you oppose or whatever, so that we're not wasting our time? Because if we take all the time to put together a policy that then the board disagrees with what the policy directs, then we've just wasted our time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Grant, tell me where you saw the grants management one.
Page 13 in the packet, about 2/3 of the way down. It just says those 2 words, grants management.
Yes.
And AI had a model policy. So this doesn't include any model policy.
So it's not something we have now.
No.
Right.
Okay, because I couldn't find it. I was reading 705, and it kind of talks about.
Well, and I think that's why we really need to be working on this, because this is what's going to direct and guide our work, these pages.
I think that's the piece that's really critical.
Yes, I agree
Because
with
that's
you.
when we say, okay, this is the set of financial policies we think we want. The board says, you want to combine these 2, or this one is really important, whatever. And then we take the priorities from that list. Because part of knowing that something is higher or lower priority is, what are the other ones that are similar? How does that fit in? Because policies in a group end up being sort of a package. Like I was looking through just at the titles and thinking what some of those categories might be. And I just wrote a couple. Board purpose, mission, values, board structure, board meetings and records. So getting those kind of buckets and then zeroing in on within that. I think that as much as I hear about concerns about grants management, that's a very reasonable policy for us to work through. Again, it's not necessarily a high priority, but being able to present the categories and just some of the details of what those policies might be. No model policies, just the table of contents. To the board might say, oh, grants management, that's a great idea, do it last because we don't need it. Or
yeah.
That's a great idea, do it first. Or put it in the middle because there are these other financial policies that are more important to us.
Well, and I'm certainly in no hurry. I just wanted to bring it up because it was brought to me. And
okay.
I figured it would be good to bring it up here and we can discuss it. I don't really need to bring it to a board meeting because we haven't even thought about it yet. So
yeah, at this point, it's not a recommendation from this committee to the board. So, but it will go on the list.
it's just one of those ideas. And if you don't float the idea, you never get any feedback.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So what if we go through on pages 11 through 16 and do some work? So let's look at what 11 through 16 has. Page 11 lists and the top of 12 lists all the policies that are in our current SETD legacy policy manual by number. And then Sarah, as she was looking, she made not decisions, but she looked at the other policies and decided whether or not she thought there were other policies in the SDAO model and the AI model policy manual. So she gave us this grid. If you go to page 12, she listed all of the SDAO model policies on 12, 13, and 14.
13 is AI model.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12 is SDAO. 13 and 14 is the AI. And AI certainly has a whole bunch more than we do, than even SDAO has. So I think
some of those seem really like operational policy.
no, this is all about the board.
Yeah.
This is all about the board, so as we go through. So, because AI has the most on their list, let's go down the list of AI and check off what we think we want to include, and if we can see a reference in at least our legacy policies. With legacy, we at least have a policy number to use as a reference. So we start with the AI, the purpose of the policy manual, and that is not in the legacy or the SDAO model, but I think we need, that needs to be sort of the opening of our policy manual, don't you think?
I think it should start with purpose.
Yep. So I'm making a little check mark, and this is what we should have. Now, mission, vision, and core values. I'm looking at
If we wanted to do that, we would just draw it from the work we did at the retreat.
right. And I don't see it, it's nowhere in the other two, but I think we need to have that. Now, do you see those? Well, maybe that discussion is too premature. I'm thinking about, we might figure out there's some of these things that we put in the same policy.
Weren't we working on mission? Weren't we working on this piece before?
That, not as part of this committee. We worked out it as part of the board to come up with that. The authority of the district.
So, wait, did you want to add mission, vision?
I put a check mark there. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The authority of the district, and that's not in the other policies, but that we need to be referencing the ORSs, etc., that establishes the authority of the district.
Makes sense.
So I'm going to check that one. Then the role of board commissioners, I believe that is the same as board members, and B301, board duties and responsibilities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then SDAO board members. I'm going to number the SDAO ones, and I'm going to call them S, just so that then I can reference them easily.
So we have we have board officers in our SDO legacy model, right?
Well, there's a difference between the role of the Board of Commissioners,
Yeah.
which is
No, I'm just
for everybody,
verifying.
and then the chair and officer responsibilities, which I think is getting repetitive, but
You're fine.
we don't need a policy for each office. We need a policy about the offices.
Yes, you're right. Okay, the SDAO model has 32. Okay, so role of board commissioners would probably be the first one, board members under SDAO, right?
Yeah.
This one. Now, role of the executive director, is that a board policy?
We have something.
I think it is.
Well, yeah, because we hired.
Executive Director Role B701.
Okay, B701. And let's see if there's an executive director one on. I don't see one there. Then organizational structure overview.
It's kind of in our policy manual, but it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's whether or not, I mean,
Oh,
I think
here's
that there should be a section of policies that are about organizational structure.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there needs to be an overview of it because it's going to be right there. So the title of a category has organizational structure, which has officers, the role of the board, not anything about the executive director. That seems like the organizational structure. Officers, member responsibilities.
Yeah, I think that is our B300 section.
Yeah.
So do you want to review that and just see if it needs any work?
We're going to review it, but not right this minute.
Okay, so I'm just going to put a W there. Okay.
I'm putting check mark. We're going to review everything.
Yeah.
It's what order we review it in.
I'm working on 3 sheets of paper, so I'm trying to.
Definitions and key terms. We get that with every one of our board packets. I think having that in the policy manual is a good thing as well, because I know one of the first things I want to do is that if I'm new to an organization is I want to read the policy manual. And if that's all in there, and that could be an appendix.
I think that makes sense as an appendix because those are going to change as well.
Yes.
Good idea.
And we've got regulations B500 as appendix A. So definitions and key terms, regulations could go in there too. Okay. Board composition and qualifications, we know that that's all in B300. Member roles and responsibilities, that's in B300. Code of conduct and ethics. We have that under B400. And so that should be there as well. Conflicts of interest disclosure and ORS 244 compliance. That's under Code of Ethics, I believe.
It should be.
So that's B400. Every time I use something, I think board elections is also under the composition and qualification, so B100 is also there. Okay, board chair and responsibilities, that's under B300. Board committees, that's B300. Board meetings. A lot of this they've taken in executive sessions is...
That should be meetings, right?
Executive session.
Right, should either be in the same category as meetings or should be under
Right.
the policy of meetings.
And that's, we don't have something here that's just
I think it's in B600.
meetings.
It's B312 in our,
Mm-hmm,
so I think the 300 series is right. So
yeah.
Hang on a second.
Public participation in meetings. Is that under regulations, do you think?
There's one just by itself, 601 public meetings, but to me that's down with meetings, not a category of its own.
Yeah. Board communications and records. I think that's under the 300, that's administration. And see, I would say B100, 200, and 300, I would lump that into board administration or administrative policies. Board. Maybe come up with a better term. Policy adoption and revision procedures. I don't think there's anywhere. That's going to be a new one, but that would probably be in a B300 kind of thing. I'm just going to put new. I haven't read anything that we wouldn't do. Long-range transportation planning.
Isn't that in our transportation plan?
Yeah, I wouldn't put that there.
I agree.
Because that's a whole separate document.
Yeah. And where it says annual strategic goals, I would put strategic planning. And that's going to be under, it's a responsibility. Monitoring of executive director performance, that's under the B700. Annual report and transparency standards. That doesn't do, I'm going to take that one out. Budget development and adoption, that's under B800, because that's all the finance stuff. Whoops, wrong line too. And then financial reporting requirements would be all there. Capital improvement planning, that's in your annual budgeting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it belongs in a
I
policy.
agree. Reserve and contingency policies, yeah.
800.
Procurement and contracting standards. Is that operational or is that's policy driven?
think you could write a policy or a procedure either under that, so.
And it's financial, so that
Yeah.
would be 800. There's grants management. Is that,
I think 800 makes sense. That's about.
I agree as well.
Mm-hmm.
Asset management and depreciation, that's 800. Debt management. See, some of this, when we get a finance committee, we'll be working together. Fair policy and revenue collection oversight.
That sounds like a procedure.
Well, the
partly.
policy, setting fares, is actually, I think, a board policy.
It is. But that's two things, I think.
I think the fare policy and the ticket policy, those things go together, and at a high level, that's a reasonable policy.
Yeah. So we also might add down at the bottom, ticket bank. And ticket bank could go in with fares.
Right.
Yeah.
So put that together. And that's an 800.
So would that be under financial then?
Yeah, I think it would. Fraud prevention and internal controls. That's going to be on 800. Board executive director relationship. That's on a 700. And this is 700.
So this is the next one.
Compensation and benefits oversight. Is that compensation for the executive director, or is that compensation
For all employees.
all employees?
If it's all employees, it's finance, isn't it? Or do we have a separate category?
I think I would
for
put,
human resources.
Maybe we need to add an HR. Let's go B. We'll change some of these letters.
I put HR with a question mark. It might be when we get them all that we'll want to, just to make the chunks reasonable size to do that.
Right. Workplace safety oversight.
That would be HR.
Yeah. So I think we do need an HR. And the non-discrimination DEI and Title,
Yeah.
6.
yeah, that's HR. Labor relations, that's HR. Whistleblower protections, that, I would put that under HR.
Yeah.
Service standards and performance expectations, that's HR. Service planning and changes.
That seems so operational.
Yeah, but there could be a board policy about how far in advance you. Yeah, see, it's like the stop times and the routes just changed for the summer, I believe. We didn't have to be involved in that. That's operational. But let's say there was a major change that was being thought of to reroute the 10 or to...
Or if we added or eliminated a route.
Add or eliminate. I think that would need to have board input.
That was very clearly stated the other day in the ODOT training, that is a board decision.
Oh, really? Okay.
How about
Change.
major route planning?
How about just route planning? And then you have a board policy that says this kind of route planning would be. So let's change that to route planning.
It was all included in a discussion about service planning.
Maybe it's service, maybe it is not just
It
routes.
might be
It is service
appropriate.
planning.
I think route is going to be more recognizable, what that means and what it doesn't mean.
How about, let's just put service and route planning
Okay.
just for now.
Yeah.
Because service could also mean
ADA, dial
your
ride.
paratransit, your dial
Microtransit.
ride, et cetera, et
Services,
cetera.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of servicing vehicles. And
Yeah.
So,
Safety and security, I think, is HR.
yeah, I think so too.
And ADA, paratransit service policies, that's going to go into this one we just talked about.
Maybe we need a policy around customer service.
I would not be opposed to that. I'm going to just, customer service expectations is on the next page, is on the back side.
We have an ADA policy, standalone policy.
Yeah.
So do we need a board policy? Because that's a requirement of the district in the first place.
But
The board.
But generally, when I've seen it, and every organization can do it differently, you do have sets of policies, and there are some that are required, and you put it in, if it's about a hiring issue and it's required by the state, it goes in the HR category.
Right.
Right.
If it's about customers, it would go, and if we have a customer service category, that's where it goes. Because part of this is being able to find it when you want it. And that's easier to do if they're in groups.
Right. And if it's in the ORS, you can cite the ORS.
Right, yeah.
So, but having it's reinforcing that, yes, this is part of our culture, if you will.
It's just
So-
like in opening up a book, you start with a table of contents to see which section is going to have the piece that you want.
Right.
The pieces that you want.
So,
Where did
Go
you
ahead.
want ticket bank then? I wrote it at the bottom.
ticket bank is going to go with fare policy.
With fair. And that'd be financial.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't complete that note.
Okay, vehicle and fleet management standards. That isn't financial. It's operations, I think. There's an equipment use policy here, so I would call that operations.
What I would say about that is that's something that we need to be getting feedback on.
Well, the board doesn't set the standards. The board directs that there be standards set.
Right.
And that those standards be shared with the board on whatever periodic level they need to be, so we can assure that that policy is being followed.
So are we going to have a section of this then that will be directing what the operational policies need to give us feedback on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And it would fit in there?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Just wanted to
And
make
that
sure.
customer service expectations, do you see that in HR? Where do you see that? It could be operations, it could be HR.
It's kind
But
of.
it's about the people, not the vehicles.
Good. Operations is going to be more about vehicles. HR is going to be about people. Okay, I like that. Emergency and disaster response roles. HR.
Because we put safety in HR.
Yeah. Lost and found procedures. Now, we don't get into lost and found procedures. Do we need to dictate that? I kind of don't see that. We can get rid of that. Public records is under admin. So that's under duties and responsibilities, the board admin. And that's under, and record retention is there too. Although I think that's redundant to something we had earlier.
Yeah, I was looking, it seemed to me we had,
Board communications and records. I would add record retention there.
It's also covered in the public meetings in 601.
Okay, so we can get rid of this records retention.
well, there are different laws about public records and open meetings. Those
Right.
are two separate things. They're very related. But
And the transparency and open meetings compliance. That's going to go under,
That's in our 601.
yeah. Ethics and anti-corruption requirements. I think that's HR.
Or is it 400 board ethics definitions of public official?
Okay, let's do that, 400.
We could reference both, yeah.
And the Title VI Civil Rights Program, I think that's HR. And do you remember that we had to vote to change some language for the grants? Yeah.
It had no negative consequences to us if we passed it, as I recall, but could.
If we didn't pass it, we would lose funding. Yes. ADA and accessibility oversight.
HR?
Yeah, I think so. And you know, that applies both to employees as well as customers. So on the customer side, we'll just,
I think after we go through the individual ones, we could
Yes.
look at those categories and see. Sometimes we might want to separate it like HR and customer. Maybe that's two, maybe that's one.
yeah. Okay, environmental compliance and sustainability policy. I'm gonna throw that in HR.
Or is it operations and about equipment?
I'm gonna put both of them there. Risk management and insurance requirements, that's financial. Complaint and appeal process. I think that's HR. No.
It's HR or customer? And figure out a separate category.
Yeah, we might want a separate category just about customers.
Yeah. It could wind up the other way.
Public engagement policy, that's actually a 300. It could be a 300 and an HR. How did the board do it? How does media and public communications? That's going to be 300 and probably HR. Partnerships with local governments and tribes. I think that's a 300, the board admin. Coordination with ODOT and statewide transit programs. Is that finance? No.
We're having several that are about the community, really. Coordination with ODOT, intergovernmental agreements.
That's another one where we have a standalone policy, but we need to probably,
But where does it go? What category
yeah,
does it go?
where does it go in
Yeah,
here?
that makes no sense to have
So
it.
let's
Leave
pause
that
for a minute.
all by itself.
And let's enumerate, let's go up a level to the categories. And let's think about what categories. Now that we've seen all this, I think we're getting some ideas about categories. And I just wrote contracting as a category and HR as a category. And we talked about customer
Customer service.
customer something. I'm just going to put service there. Okay, and then we've got board,
Board governance. I don't think it's really operations.
in fact, you don't even need the word board, you just need the word governance.
Well, we have 10 to go.
Oh,
I mean, 10 items left.
oh, I know, but,
But I like what you're thinking.
okay. But-
Sections.
So, And so we have finance as a section. We have operations. We know we're going to have appendices. So this all goes in one. Code of ethics. Is that under governance?
Yeah.
I think it could be. Do you think so?
Governance is going to be a really big category. I guess that's what I'm thinking. When we started talking about it, we looked at it as a separate category, and it is here 400s. Board ethics, definition of public official, guide for public officials.
So maybe that part, the governance, has some subsections.
Right.
Because that's where meetings might go
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of thing. Okay, this is helping. Let's go back up. So coordination with ODOT and statewide transit programs. Does that go under contracting?
How about contracting and coordination? I think those things go together. Sometimes there's a contract when you coordinate. Sometimes there's an MOU.
And that's where grants would go too. So, intergovernmental agreements, that goes under the, we'll call it the C&C. Board training orientation, we already know where that's under. Continuing education and conferences, that's going to be, and board self-evaluation procedures. Boy, that's going to be a big one. Board succession planning. Then we've got the statutes. That's going to be in an appendix. Bylaws is 300. A district organizational chart is...
That's back up where we were before.
I think that,
I think that's probably
purpose, mission,
staff.
and values. No, but that includes us. And you know, our organizational chart, when you really get to it, at the very top is
Right.
the customer.
Yeah, depending on who's drawing it. You're right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So I'm going to say an intro section, but that's not a good word for it, but that would be where we would have the purpose of the policy manual, the mission, vision, and values, the authority, and the organizational structure kind of thing. But I don't like intro as a section.
Yeah.
But let's call it that, and we'll come up with something better.
A preamble.
The preamble, yeah. Okay. Key forms and templates, that's going to be an appendix. Resolutions archive list. I don't think we're going to have that.
Because that's written into a lot of our policies.
Right.
It's at that box.
And that's for a bigger organization. It's for
Code of
doing
conduct, acknowledgement form. That's
just a form. That's,
yeah.
That'd be HR, wouldn't it?
That's in the appendix.
Okay.
Because there are certain forms that that's actually under ethics. That's going to be under the section of the board section, excuse me, the governance section.
Okay.
So under governance, you're going to have board, meetings, ethics. You're going to have some subsections there.
The policies are all going to be, the written policies are all going to be governed by the process of changing policies, which means board approval. So some things you want to be able to change easily because they're not content driven. And I would think forms is something like that. That
Yeah.
every time you want to change a form, you don't want
You
to
don't have it in a
take back to
policy.
the board.
No, you're right. One of the things that
So I put
isn't
that in appendix.
right. One appendix is, and this maybe comes under what was called succession planning, but I'm calling it recruitment. But everything that we put together when we had to go out and fill empty spaces. So that would be part of succession planning, I think. And I can't find it here, but it's here. Oh, here, board succession planning. So I'm going to put recruitment there too. Okay, so let's quickly go over what we have on our table of contents. Is there anything there that we haven't already talked about? Elections, orientation, duties, responsibilities, duties, attending meetings, board vacancy, we just talked about that. Political endorsement, that's part of the ethics.
Yeah.
Yes. And I like that over here. Selection and duties of legal counsel. That we would need as well. Selection of an auditor. So those three we didn't have. Board ethics, definition, all that ethics is okay. Appendix A, public meetings. In this new higher level, where would executive director, would that just be its own section?
It's its own section.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have finance and budget, formulation of the budget and budget committee, administration of the budget, depositories. That isn't in this big one. Purchase sale, yeah, so we need the purchase, sale, and lease of property, loans, assets. Yeah, all of those. Public records we need. Board reimbursement, we need a policy on that. Yes. Investment policy, okay, we didn't talk about that. Pre-loss legal counsel consultation.
Loss, that's something to do with SDAO, isn't it?
It is.
Part of the insurance.
CIS, I think, or SDIS. Timber revenue is specific to us. Yeah, I think there's a lot of policies in there that aren't covered in what we just read.
Yeah.
Equipment use policy, actually, I know when I read it, I had some big questions about it because it authorizes us to loan equipment to people that I thought, why are we loaning equipment there?
Oh.
So I had some real questions about it. Okay, so then, hello Erica.
Hi, sorry that I wasn't here earlier.
That's all right, that's all right. Okay, then let's look at the SDAO model policies and see if there's anything there that we haven't already hit on. Maybe notice, and that's the regulatory.
Notice is covered in our 601.
Yeah, under meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Virtual attendance, that would go under meetings. What does delegation mean?
We have a new committee policy that includes all those.
What, delegation?
No,
Oh.
above delegation.
Oh, yes, yes.
Would that be like using a proxy?
Yeah, but we don't allow that. I mean, it's an elected position. You can't delegate your authority.
It may be like the chair delegating or appointing.
Maybe, so I'm gonna circle it with a question mark. Okay, management, board, we already have board member expenses, ethics, conflict of interest. We definitely need to do the whole big conflict of interest
Yeah.
thing, and we have to sign one every year, et cetera, et cetera. Prohibited actions.
That would be like serial meetings,
Well, that would
should
be under
under those
meetings.
sections.
Yeah.
The ones that I'm circling, I'm going to go to their policy manual and see what it says, so that get
Yeah,
definition.
that's a good idea.
Confidentiality we have, governing statutes, board member development, acknowledgement of receipt and compliance. All the rest of them, I think we do.
And I think we're pretty well covered as far as that list goes.
Right. So what I'm thinking I'd like to do, like I want extra work, but it's easier to do this myself than to explain it to anybody. So, Erica, if you can send me the file of pages 13 through 16. No, excuse me, it's page 11 through 16.
A file of
That was not in PDF form, but this is probably
Excel.
Word form. Is it Excel or Word?
I think it's in Excel.
Whichever one.
Okay.
Send it to me, and I will pare it all down and put it in some sort of order, but I'll also add these high-level divisions that we thought about.
These ones, the contracting,
Yeah.
HR.
Intro,
Okay.
governance, contracting, HR, customer service, finance, operation, executive director, appendices, regulations, and why do I have D804 there?
That will make it a lot easier to read.
And then we'll start putting them in their places.
Right.
And I'll even put some in there.
Yeah.
And subdivisions, the only one that I can see might have subdivisions is the governance.
Right.
So we'll have ethics there,
Meetings.
and meetings, and board, and I can't think of what else.
It might
Does
come
that-
at you where you're
Yeah.
putting it together.
Okay. Does that all make sense for us? All right. Okay. I feel like I've been putting off looking at this big list for a long time. I'm glad
I
we
can't
finally have
imagine
done
why.
it. I know. It has been a little overwhelming. Okay.
This will make it less so when
I
it's
think so.
organized by those categories.
I think so. All right, so I think we finished through item 8. Item 9 then is committee member comments. And we're going to be ending early. How nice.
I turned into a pumpkin at 3, so.
Oh, okay. And we want to make sure we know when our next meeting is.
No, I clock out at 3.
Oh. Okay, any comments? Commissioner Stolberg.
Thank you for hearing my idea.
Okay,
That's all.
good deal.
I feel like the progress on the categories and will really make the rest of our work more efficient.
I agree. I agree. I agree. So, and I thank you all for meeting today. I feel like I'm still on vacation land, so.
Well, what we just did
Uh-huh,
is helping me structure my brain so that it's feeling a lot more comfortable.
yes. Structure always helps, always helps. Okay, so let's look at maybe our next couple of meetings, because I know, let's see, I'm gonna say, So the next meeting we have theoretically is July 17th. Is that, nope, that's not right. If we meet on the third Friday, oh no, we moved this meeting, that's right, I forgot. I think it's July 3rd. Nope, it's not on July 3rd. Let's see, July 10th. Jeez.
Our next board meeting in July is the 23rd.
Our next board meeting is this
Thursday.
Thursday.
In July, that's the 23rd.
Okay, I've got SETD Policy Committee on Thursday, July 9th at 11 to 1.
Oh, so do I. I had skipped over it, but.
For some reason, I was thinking we were on Fridays. Okay, so that works fine.
11 to 1, you said?
Yeah. Let me make sure. Policy Committee, 11 to 1. And then the next one after that, I show as August 13th, 11 to 1. Let me just make sure. So that's July 9th and August 13th.
Geesh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not a good day for me.
It's not a good day for me either.
I have to be in Portland all day.
Okay, so let's look at something different for August then.
But Friday, the day after, or
Let's
the
look
week
at
after
August.
the 21st?
I'm out of town from the 15th to the 23rd. So let's look at the 14th. Ooh, that might not work.
12th would be better for me.
Let's look at the 12th.
12th is better for me.
Ooh, that's my coffee with a counselor. I can't do it on the 12th.
How about in the afternoon?
Yeah, I've got commitment with my senior citizens at Chisholm, and that takes me till 2:30. How about August 11th? Oh, that looks really good for me. Does it work for the two of you?
I can do the 11th.
Okay, do you want 11 to 1, or do you want afternoon?
11 to 1 would be, well, I need to be back by 3.
Okay.
So,
How about, I need to be back by 3?
12 to 2?
12 to 2.
that works.
It's easier for me if it's not in the middle of the day, because that's the day I go to the bookstore, and so I.
So 12 to 2 is the middle of the day. That's not good for you.
Well, no, actually that works because it gives me the morning.
Okay.
Afternoon, more afternoon would work, but that wouldn't work for Matthew.
Okay. So we'll do that 12 to 2. 12 to 2 and change it to Tuesday the 11th, 12 to 2.
Okay.
Okay, so we know what our next 2 meetings are. Make sense? All righty. Anything else? All right. It is 2:55, and the meeting of the Sunset Empire Transportation District Board Policy Committee is adjourned.